Recently, I've been seeing a lot of articles and videos on how grocery shopping has gotten so much more expensive due to inflation. Oh, this is what $100 used to buy you, and now it can buy you this, right? Oh, I used to buy 30 million pounds of vegetables before X, and now I can buy a single egg. And then there's those tutorials that are teaching you how to save money after inflation, and I swear, they must think we're stupid, because oftentimes they'll be like, oh, just buy the cheaper one. No shit, Sherlock, buy the cheaper one. You think I'm an idiot? Is this a pigeon? So like those tutorials are absolutely, like I feel like half those tutorials and half the tips they give you are absolutely useless. And secondly, honestly, I know it's probably not that popular to say, but I feel like my grocery bill actually hasn't really risen that much. People are saying, oh, you can buy like a tenth of what you used to be able to buy. Like maybe my grocery bill increased by like 5 to 15% at like most. I don't know. I hope I don't jinx it. Ooh, should I even post this now? No, please don't jinx it. I don't want to. No. Maybe it's my area, or maybe it's the markets I go to. But I feel like most things have stayed relatively stable in price. I mean, some things even got cheaper, right? Like corn used to be like $4. Now I've seen it for $10. Like, my God. Ignoring all the stupid, like useless hacks that are like, oh, buy the cheaper one, right? What are some more elusive, some more like unknown hacks that you can follow, that you can kind of like learn in order to lower your grocery bill? Now, I feel like I have the rights to talk about this because I feel like I talk about prices, I talk about costs, I talk about saving money, maybe like every other video or every other short. So I thought I'd share some of my money saving hacks that might actually prove useful for you in your daily life. Now, the number one hack before I begin is when someone gives you a hack, calculate the amount of time it takes to fulfill or to like accomplish that hack. Then do a cost benefit analysis, or like then kind of like judge in your mind, okay, if I use this time, rather than using this time to do this hack, if I use it to earn money, maybe I'm selling lemonade, maybe I'm like, I don't know, I'm selling random things on Etsy, or like, I don't know, doing something, right? Would I be able to use that time to earn more money, or would I be saving more money if I use that hack? For example, if I said, oh, a hack is to just grow your potatoes, right? Potatoes are cheap AF, right? Just buy your potatoes. Even expensive potatoes are still cheaper than the amount of time and effort it will take to tend to your potatoes. And I think, I don't know, I'm actually not sure how easy or how hard it is to grow potatoes. I've actually never done it. But like, potatoes are super cheap, okay? Like, I've seen it for like, first of all, sometimes they just give it to you for free. Other times it's like, what, 5 pounds for $1? Just, they're cheap enough to just like, I feel like you just buy your potatoes. Obviously, unless you're like a potato farmer and like economies of scale, yada yada. And you already know, but just to clarify, economies of scale is basically saying like, if you have 10 workers, right, in two scenarios, scenario A, 10 workers, each worker is working on one different thing, then that scenario would be more productive than a scenario where you have 10 workers and those 10 workers are all working on 10 of the same exact thing, right? So if you have like scenario A, you have one person that's purposely cooking, another person that's purposely like cutting vegetables, one person purposely like growing vegetables, one person purposely, I don't know, doing whatever, right? That's a lot more productive of a society than a society where everyone is doing everything. Another side note is also that I live in the States, so I know that money saving hacks might be slightly different from place to place. For example, I know that in some places in Asia, right, it's a lot cheaper to go out to eat because, again, like economies of scale, right, and also because labor costs are usually cheaper. Versus in the States, it's a lot cheaper to buy the ingredients and then cook them at home because, again, labor costs and because it's just expensive. So with that out of the way, first point, start cooking your food. Start cooking. Eating out is so expensive. Oh my goodness. Odds are you know your taste buds more than some random restaurant worker, right? You know how to cater any like dish to your own taste buds. Right off the bat, like the food you cook is probably going to be better and more suitable for your taste buds than the food that other places cook. Secondly, think about it, right? That dish that you ordered, that dish has to pay for all the, like, basically all the management fees, all the electricity, all the water, the plumbing, right? The employees, right? The labor, you have to tip, right? You have to pay for even like the share buybacks or the stock buybacks that companies do, right? And the next time I see a Chipotle hack or a McDonald's hack, $15 for a bowl of rice and beans is not cheap in any way, shape, or form, okay? Even if you get free guac, it's not cheap. $15 for a bowl of rice and beans is not cheap. Oh my goodness. Tip number 2, try not to do all your shopping at one location. You might think, oh, but Costco is always cheaper, right? You buy in bulk. everything is cheaper in bulk, that's not always true. Just because Costco or Walmart are selling it doesn't mean that it's necessarily the cheapest person on the market, right? They're not necessarily the cheapest seller, even though they're known for being cheap. Oh, everyday low prices. Oh, like Costco is just cheap, right? People always think that, but that's not necessarily always the case. So I would say just keep a mental tab of like the average prices of like the vegetables and the meats and the ingredients that you use like regularly, just to make sure you're not getting ripped off. And on a side note of just going to different stores, also join their membership programs or like the club programs, right? Oftentimes they'll give you a lot of coupons, or they'll give you like they'll give you the weekly ad, right? And oftentimes, even though that restaurant usually sells it for a super expensive price, you can buy it for super cheap, right? For example, a few weeks ago, I was able to buy 2 pounds of shrimp for $3. I'd say that's a good deal. $1.50 a pound for shrimp? Hell yeah, that's cheaper than chicken. Tip number 3, have a diverse diet. Like, don't be fixated on needing to eat a specific food. I have to eat chicken, broccoli, and rice. Only chicken and broccoli and rice every single day. What happens if there's a bird flu, right? And then chicken prices like skyrocket 300%. Or maybe there's a flood and then like the rice crop all died that year, so then rice prices are also super high, right? Then you're kind of screwed. You're forced to paying the marked up price because you're not wavering on your need to eat specific foods. But if you have a diverse diet, if chicken prices get too expensive, okay, well I can buy, I don't know, I'll buy pork, I'll buy beef, I'll try something like more vegetarian. I'll eat tofu, I'll eat beans, right? Lamb. Or on the carb and vegetable side, you can choose a different carb, right? Instead of rice, maybe eat spaghetti, maybe eat macaroni. Or instead of broccoli, you can eat like, I don't know, leek. Or lettuce, cabbage, right? I don't have to list everything, you know what I mean? If you want to save money, your diet should kind of flow and like ebb and flow with the market prices, right? Don't buy the most expensive thing just because you have to eat it, because your diet consists of only that, right? You eat what's available, you eat what's cheap, right? That also leads to a more healthy diet too, right? Broccoli might only have a certain subset of specific vitamins and minerals, whereas maybe like cabbage has a different subset, and then like you eat them together and now you have all the minerals and vitamins, right? It's actually more healthy to have a more diverse diet than one that just strictly only these 3 ingredients or these 3 things. Additionally, when you do see market prices and you're like, oh, that thing is a lot cheaper than what it usually is, right? So for example, during St. Patrick's Day, like corned beef and cabbages are on sale. So like, don't be afraid to, okay, maybe I'll just stock up a little bit more on corned beef and then just freeze it, right? It might be not as fresh, but it'll be like, it's still edible, it's still fine for protein, it's still fine with the minerals and vitamins, right? They don't automatically die after like a week in the freezer, right? Or like cabbages too, right? Cabbages last pretty long. So maybe buy like an extra 2 or 3 and then you keep that throughout the week so that you can eat that later. They're relatively shelf stable. This might just be my view, so I don't know, but like I find it kind of fun just perusing around the stores and looking for like what things are on sale, what deals I can find, right? And then it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, and then after the scavenger hunt, it's kind of like a build your own adventure where it's like, oh, with these ingredients, what can I make? What recipe should I try, right? You get to kind of experiment with different ingredients and kind of cook things that are usually outside of your comfort zone, I guess. And then like you get to experience different flavors, experience different cuisines when you're kind of doing this. So I think that's also an additional bonus. Number 4, do not buy pre-prepared foods. I had to check if the mic was on just in case, because this happens a lot. Number 4, don't buy pre-packaged foods or pre-prepared foods, right? So this is ranging from like TV dinners to like even like peeled garlic or minced garlic. First of all, don't buy TV dinners. They are garbage. Even the ones that are marketed towards like healthy or whatever, like it's so overpriced. You can literally just buy the cans and then just make your own TV dinners with the canned foods for maybe at most half the price of the TV dinner. Like, it's ridiculous. But also things like peeled garlic or minced garlic, right? There was additional labor and additional like manufacturing, I guess, or like processing that went into creating that peeled version or minced version, right? So that warrants a higher price, right? They might have to jar it or might have to bag it, right? That plastic or that glass costs extra money. So if you just bought the fresh version, that's oftentimes more cheap. In addition to the specific case with garlic, a fresh garlic is often more potent than like minced garlic or even peeled garlic. So you can actually use less fresh garlic for the same result than if you use the same amount of minced garlic, right? You'd have to use extra minced garlic to get the same result. Next, if you need a specific food, make sure you're at the right market. For example, Chinese ingredients are usually going to be cheaper at Chinese supermarkets. This is probably because those markets will have more competition between different brands that they carry, and those different brands try to get people to buy, right? So they try to market by being, oh, I'm the cheaper one. And also because there's more volume, there's more turnover, right? The main demographic that goes to those stores will be buying those ingredients more often than if than the demographic that goes to, let's say, a Western supermarket, or like even like, I don't know, a Spanish supermarket, right? So like a Chinese supermarket will often have Chinese ingredients that are more cheap. In the same vein, usually, don't buy like American ingredients or American like snacks or whatever at Chinese supermarkets, right? I saw a box of Cheerios selling for $10.99 at a Ranch 99. Who sets up these prices? I don't know. And from my experience, this works for most supermarkets other than Japanese supermarkets. I don't know what it is, but Japanese supermarkets are just always expensive. Like, holy damn. Those places are just expensive. My goodness. Next tip, don't be afraid and don't be too prideful to go to a budget store, right? Grocery Outlet, Five Below, etc. Who cares if you shop there, really? And if they do care, screw them. What the hell? I will gladly be judged if I get the opportunity to pay something for a fifth of the price of what you're paying, right? I'm not gonna pay 5 times the price for canned tomatoes at Erewhon just because I don't want to be judged or I want to appear bougie. That's stupid. But also, just another reminder, just because it's like appears to be a budget store or appears to be a discount store, it doesn't mean necessarily that it is going to be more cheap, right? So you still want to have that mental note of saying, okay, so this store sells these things for cheaper than this store, and this store has these specific things that are often cheaper, but these things are more expensive, right? You kind of still want to have that mental note. You just want to be slightly aware of what things are more cheap and what things are more expensive at specific supermarkets. Side hack part B, Grocery Outlet, Costco, if the price ends in a 7, so like $9.97 or like $1.97, right? Then those prices are oftentimes on clearance, or that's like the final markdown before they just toss it. So be on the lookout for any price that ends in a 7. That's usually a good thing from my experience. This is kind of like a side tangent, but like as I said before, budget stores aren't necessarily going to be the cheapest thing, right? And something that's and I guess a really big culprit of this is like all those dollar stores like Dollar General, Dollar Tree, whatever, right? Those stores will often actually end up being more expensive. If you ever watched Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, he actually does like a deep dive into this, how like Dollar General and Dollar, like those budget stores, they're actually ripping people off, and what they're doing is they'll buy like the multi-pack and they'll sell the items individually, right? You're actually paying more for those items individually than you would be if you're buying the multi-pack in bulk. As an example, I think he goes into toilet papers. For example, maybe like Dollar General or Dollar Tree, they'll sell you one roll of toilet paper for maybe like $1, whereas like let's say like any other supermarket will sell you like an 8-pack for $5, right? So in that case, then you're actually paying a lot more per toilet paper roll at that budget store than you would be if you're buying it anywhere else. Just something to be wary of. Next hack, I don't even know what number I'm on, but next hack, most of the time, I have to emphasize most of the time, expiration dates are total BS. They're just a way to either get you or maybe even other retailers that are selling the products to throw away perfectly good food. If there's a clearance aisle and they're selling non-perishables, why not buy it? You do realize it's called non-perishable, right? Not perishable. Now there is also a caveat to this, so be careful. Like if there's anything that's damaged, like specifically cans, don't buy anything that's like a damaged can. Like that should not be legal to sell, even if it's like at a super deep discount. Like that thing can kill you. Do not buy damaged cans. But like if you're talking about like cereal or whatever, right? If it's like a few days, a few weeks, even like a month or two expired, like it's fine. Honestly, like it'll be a little bit more stale. Like it's fine. And this is like an open package, or like again the dented can thing. And this is that type of thing. Don't buy it. But like if it's like a sealed package, it's honestly fine. And the last hack, and one of the most important ones I think to keep out or to remember, is try to eat a more healthy, balanced diet. Like a lot of people might not realize this, but a lot of highly processed foods are actually more expensive than their more natural or their more like healthy or like less processed counterpart. Think about it, right? It's highly processed. There's some labor, there's some money, there's some like cost that comes into that is required to highly process that food. And it's highly processed. It's not subtly processed, it's not slightly processed, it's highly processed, right? So there's highly amounts of labor, highly amounts of cost, usually. And even if those highly processed foods or whatever are technically cheaper, giving up a bit on the price and living just like healthier, think about how much money that will save you in the long run. You won't get as many like medical bills, right? You'll be like healthier overall. You'll be more focused. You'll be able to earn more money, and you'll be more like driven to do things when you're not like on your bed just tired or groggy because you had a really bad diet. And also this goes to the other thing, right? With highly processed foods, don't focus only on the price per pound, right? Now also this goes to things that are like marketed as being budget friendly or being cheap. Like oftentimes they're actually not cheap, especially when you account for the things that you're getting. So for example, let's say bologna, right? Bologna is known for being like something like more of like a cheap food, right? Or like bologna sandwich. It's marketed as being like, I guess it's marketed in a certain way, but it's also kind of like has this negative connotation of just being like more of a cheap food. So for example, bologna, right? So the bologna I've seen going for like maybe $1.50 for like maybe 6 ounces, which is like less than half a pound. And that's $1.50 for less than half a pound, right? If you were to buy chicken thigh, I feel like at most I've seen chicken thigh maybe like $1.19 at the bougie places. Normal price, probably like 99 cents. And then like on sale, maybe like 69 cents a pound. Nice. Now if the sliced bologna going with less than half a pound is going for $1.50-ish for a box, and then the chicken thigh is going for like, we'll say average, we'll say it's the increased price of $1.19, right? $1.19 per pound, right? That sliced bologna is still more expensive per pound than the chicken thigh. Now, if you include for the fact that they're like highly processing, right? You just flip it over and look at the ingredients facts, right? It's not only chicken, it's not only pork, it's not only whatever they have in bologna, right? There's like a bunch of water, there's a bunch of like random like emulsifiers like cornstarch or like xanthan gum and stuff like that to like hold onto the water so it doesn't break apart. Not necessarily saying it's bad for you, I'm just saying that they're using cheaper ingredients, right? Cornstarch isn't bad for you, right? Xanthan gum, guar gum, whatever they're using, it isn't necessarily, or there's no real evidence showing that it's bad for you, but like it is just a cost saving. And if you account for that, then maybe you're getting like what, 25% actual meat, and then you're getting scammed at the wazoo now. So definitely be wary of that. So those are some like 7, 8, 9 tips that I had for I guess saving money in this like era of like inflation, I guess, and how I kind of keep my grocery bill relatively low. I hope you got something from them. I know some of them were a little bit more obvious and some of them were maybe a little less obvious, but those hacks definitely helped me keep my grocery bill low, and I really hope they were more useful than buy the cheaper one. I'm sure there's a few other tips that are escaping my mind right now, but I can't think of them, and maybe I'll just do another video if you so choose. If you so like. Just want to say, don't get ripped off, don't get scammed. Hope these help you save money. Have a good day.